Hi, I'm Heather. I'm a partner at Carter Law Group. First, the legal process is hard to understand because it's purposefully set up that way, right? If you ask any lawyer, the right answer to any question is it depends, right? That's the running joke. And it's normally true because the answer to any question is it depends given any situation. Nothing is really ever black and white. And so those questions can get hard. There's never an easy answer to any question when it comes to the law. So no matter what you're doing, no matter what your question is about, no matter what area of law, just please talk to somebody. Please talk to a lawyer and make sure you're not doing something that's against your own self-interest, even if you don't know that you are. This can be especially important when it comes to sexual assault victims, mostly because the legal system is also not set up in a way that's helpful to or mindful of sexual assault victims. Every time a victim of sexual assault has to talk about what they went through, has to talk about their assault, they go through a process called re-victimization. So they're re-victimizing themselves over and over. And so when you have to tell your story a bajillion times to a bajillion different people, you're re-victimizing yourself over and over and over again. That can lead to more trauma, increased PTSD, stuff like that. So it can be hard to know where to start, if you've been the victim of sexual assault or sexual harassment. Specifically, if you were sexually harassed or sexually assaulted at work, there are a couple things that you need to do. One, you need to look at whatever your HR policies are, right? If you're in a company that's big enough to have an HR department or have some sort of handbook, there will be some sort of guidelines about who you can report it to. Now, that gets complicated in and of itself, right? Because what if the person you're supposed to report it to is the person who harassed you or assaulted you? And those are complex questions that, again, it depends, right? They have complex answers. But that's, as far as work goes, that's where you would start, is your chain of command and what does your employee handbook or your policy say about where you're supposed to report these things and what you're supposed to do, right? If your direct supervisor is the one who harassed you or assaulted you, do they have a corresponding supervisor? Can you go above their head? Or is there someone, who's kind of similarly situated, but is maybe the supervisor of a different team or something? Is there somebody else in the organizational structure's chain of command that you can go and report it to? So that's kind of the employment side of stuff. The second part of it is if you were assaulted, you can always report it to the police. Even if you were assaulted at work and it becomes a work-related issue, any assaults can be reported to the police. Now, that question of if you want to report it to the police or if you don't, that is completely up to you, right? That's not something that anybody can tell you to do or tell you not to do. It's hard. It's a hard conversation to have to sit down and talk to someone about that, about what happened. It'll be hard to do it when you're reporting it to your employers. It's never a fun conversation, right? Because it wasn't a fun experience. I would say in these circumstances, it is hard for victims of sexual assault to report something to the police and then for nothing to happen. But if you don't do it, you'll never know, right? I would encourage you to always err on the side of reporting when you can and when it becomes feasible and when you feel ready to do that, because I think it's always important to have the information out there. The person who assaulted you may do it again someday, or maybe they've already done it. And so reports create a pattern of behavior for serial assaulters, and that's important information. But those are really hard conversations, and they're really hard decisions. And there's not an easy yes or an easy no. And so, I think the best thing to do is just kind of sit with yourself, talk with your loved ones, and figure out what feels right to you at the right time. And if you have questions about legal implications or whatever, you can always reach out to us. Our team is kind of trained on victims advocacy issues, and so we ensure that we're not purposefully or needlessly re-victimizing our clients over and over again by having you tell multiple people the same story. You'll be given a team of people in the beginning, and you only have to tell your story one time, and we can help guide you through the process as best as we can.